Have you ever heard the story about a stubborn king and a powerful God? It's an amazing true story from the Bible, and it all starts in a land called Egypt, a long, long time ago. God's people, the Israelites, were slaves there. Imagine having to work super hard all day, every day, for someone else, and never getting to go home or be free. That's what was happening to them, and they were very sad. They prayed to God and asked Him to rescue them, and God heard their prayers. He chose a man named Moses to be his helper. God told Moses, "Go to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and tell him to let my people go." So Moses, along with his brother Aaron, went to the palace. It was a huge, fancy place, but Moses wasn't scared. He stood right in front of Pharaoh and said, "The God of Israel says, 'Let my people go.'" But Pharaoh was a very proud and stubborn king. His heart was hard. He looked at Moses and said, "Who is this God? I don't know him, and I will not let the people go." He thought he was the most powerful person in the world, but he was about to find out just how powerful the one true God really is. God was going to show his power in a way that no one in Egypt would ever forget, all to set his people free. God told Moses, "Pharaoh's heart is hard, but I will show him my power." The first thing God did was turn the water of the mighty Nile River into blood. Aaron took his staff and touched the river, and poof. All the water in Egypt, in the rivers, streams, ponds, and even in the buckets at home, turned into blood. The fish in the river died, and the whole river started to smell really bad. The Egyptians couldn't drink the water for 7 days. They had to dig wells to find clean water. But even after seeing this incredible miracle, Pharaoh's heart was still hard. He refused to let the people go, so God sent a second plague: frogs. Millions and millions of frogs. They came out of the river and hopped everywhere. They were in the palaces, in the kitchens, in the bedrooms, even in people's beds and their ovens. Imagine trying to sleep with frogs hopping all over you. It was a slimy, jumpy mess. Pharaoh called for Moses and said, "Please ask your God to take these frogs away, and I will let the people go." So Moses prayed, and God made all the frogs disappear. But as soon as the frogs were gone, Pharaoh changed his mind. His heart became hard again, and he said, "Nope, I'm not letting them go." Pharaoh was really testing God's patience. So God sent a third plague. This time it was gnats, or some people think they were lice, tiny, buzzing, biting bugs. Aaron struck the dust on the ground with his staff, and all the dust in Egypt turned into swarms of these little insects. They were on people and animals, and they were incredibly annoying. Even Pharaoh's own magicians said, "This is the finger of God." They knew this was a power they couldn't copy. But did Pharaoh listen? Nope. His heart was still hard. He was still saying no. Since Pharaoh wouldn't listen, God sent the fourth plague, swarms of flies. But this time, something was different. God made a distinction. The flies swarmed all over the homes of the Egyptians, filling their houses and covering the ground. It was loud and gross. But in the land of Goshen, where God's people, the Israelites, lived, there were no flies. Not a single one. God was showing that he could protect his own people. This really bothered Pharaoh. He called Moses and said, Okay, you can go. But don't go very far." Moses prayed, the flies left, and guess what Pharaoh did? He hardened his heart again and broke his promise. God was not finished. The fifth plague was against the Egyptians' animals. All of their livestock, their horses, donkeys, camels, cattle, and sheep, got a terrible sickness and died. Out in the fields, all the Egyptian animals were gone. But once again, God protected his people. In Goshen, not a single one of the Israelites' animals was harmed. God was making it very, very clear who was in charge. You would think by now Pharaoh would get the message, right? But the Bible says he checked to see if the Israelites' animals were okay, and when he found out they were, his heart remained hard. He still refused to let the people go. So it was time for plague number 6. God told Moses and Aaron to take handfuls of soot from a furnace and throw it into the air in front of Pharaoh. When they did, it turned into a fine dust that spread all over Egypt and caused painful boils to break out on all the Egyptian people and their remaining animals. These were like big sore blisters that hurt a lot. Even Pharaoh's magicians got the boils and couldn't stand before Moses. It was a very painful plague. But Pharaoh's heart was so stubborn. He just wouldn't give in. He wouldn't listen to God. The plagues were getting more and more serious. For the 7th plague, God sent a massive hailstorm. But this wasn't just any hailstorm. It was the worst storm Egypt had ever seen, with huge chunks of ice and fire and lightning mixed in with the hail. It destroyed everything in the fields, the plants, the trees, and any people or animals that were outside. It was terrifying. But again, in the land of Goshen where the Israelites lived, there was no hail at all. They were perfectly safe. This time, Pharaoh seemed really scared. He said, "I have sinned. The Lord is righteous, and I and my people are wicked. Pray for the storm to stop, and I will let you go." But as soon as Moses prayed and the storm stopped, Pharaoh's heart became hard one more time. Can you believe it? After all that, Pharaoh still said no. So God sent the 8th plague, locusts. A huge dark cloud of locusts flew in and covered the entire land of Egypt. There were so many that they blocked out the sun. They ate everything that was left after the hailstorm. Every green leaf, every piece of fruit, every blade of grass. When they were finished, there was nothing green left in all of Egypt. The country was completely stripped bare. Pharaoh quickly called for Moses and said, "I have sinned against your God and against you. Forgive me just this once and pray to God to take away this death from me." Moses prayed. A strong wind blew the locusts into the sea, but Pharaoh hardened his heart yet again. 9 plagues had come, and Pharaoh still refused to obey God. So God sent the 9th plague, darkness. For 3 whole days, a thick, heavy darkness fell over all of Egypt. It was a darkness so complete that people couldn't even see their own hands in front of their faces. They couldn't leave their homes. They just had to sit in the dark. It must have been very scary. But guess what? In the homes of the Israelites in Goshen, there was light. They could see and move around just fine. God was once again showing his mighty power and his care for his people. After 3 days, Pharaoh told Moses, "Go, but leave your animals behind." Moses said, "No, we must take our animals to make sacrifices to God." And this made Pharaoh so angry, he shouted, "Get out of my sight. Don't ever let me see your face again." This was it. God was going to send one last final plague. It was the most serious one of all. God told Moses that at midnight, he would pass through Egypt, and the firstborn son in every Egyptian family would die. From the firstborn of Pharaoh himself to the firstborn of the lowest servant, and even the firstborn of all their animals. It was a very sad and serious judgment, but God gave his people a way to be safe. He told each Israelite family to take a perfect lamb, without any spots or defects, and to put its blood on the sides and top of their doorframes. God said, "When I see the blood, I will pass over you." The Israelites did exactly what God commanded. They prepared a special meal called the Passover and put the blood on their doors. That night, as they were inside their homes, the final plague came upon Egypt. Just as God had said, the firstborn in every Egyptian home that was not covered by the blood died. There was a loud cry throughout Egypt because in every house there was someone who had died. That night, Pharaoh finally broke. He called for Moses and Aaron in the middle of the night and said, "Go! Leave my people, you and the Israelites. Go, worship the Lord, as you have said. Take your flocks and your herds and go, and ... Please bless me also." His hard heart was finally shattered. So after 430 years of slavery, God's people were finally free. They packed up their things quickly and left Egypt, just as God had promised. This powerful story shows us that no king or power on earth is stronger than God. He hears the prayers of his people, and he has the power to rescue them in the most amazing ways. Thank you so much for watching with me today. I hope you enjoyed this incredible story of God's power. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing stories from the Bible. See you next time.